Good morning, everyone, every nerd kind out there. Thanks for coming back to Little Shop of Nerds, the podcast that talks about everything nerd related. Before we get out our episode, before we do our hint, we want to take a little second here. Now, when this is going to go up, it's going to be out next week, and we received news this week. Akira Toriyama. If you don't know who he is, the guy who created everyone's favorite manga, favorite anime, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And this is the guy who made it everything. The guy who took everything, aliens, martial arts, and magic, rolled into one thing. Now, we just want to give a little special thanks to the guy who created a great anime manga throughout the years that it was going through. And without him, we wouldn't get inspirations from guys who made One Piece, Naruto, and pretty much the whole shebang. So we just want to say thank you to Akira Toriyama, and thank you for bringing us Dragon Ball Z. All right, let's get to our today's hint. Jules?
Okay, this week's hint is Malevolent Shrine. And I have been so excited to talk about this all week.
And today we're going to talk about the Season 2 of JJK.
The Shibuya arc. Because we've already talked about Hidden Inventory Premature Death when we talked about JJK the first time. This time, it's the Shibuya arc.
And
oh my god!
And I have to tell you, last season was great, but this took it up to the second level, what they were doing on this.
I have to give Mappa props because they have done such a good job taking, the source material, the manga, and then animating it, and then giving us Gojo fangirls and us Nanami fangirls our fan service of Nanami and Gojo, and holy shit, oh my god.
And she is a big Gojo fan. She even's got a tattoo of Gojo.
Yeah, I just recently got a tattoo of Gojo on my arm.
And what was it? A little side note. I saw Am I the Asshole story?
I saw that, yes.
His girlfriend gets a tattoo of Gojo. He doesn't like it.
I mean, granted, she got a tramp stamp, which that goes on the lower back.
Who cares?
And it says "Daddy's home" on it too.
That's a little funny in my opinion.
But let me tell you something. And then when he asked her about it, she was like, "Oh well, it's an inside joke." And it's like, yeah, it is an inside joke for all JJK fangirls.
It is pretty much. And he says he doesn't like. The guy said he doesn't like anime. I'm like, in my opinion, okay, fine, you don't like anime, but how he says it's so childish, I'm like, bro, you want to go down? I will go down with you.
Yeah, he's probably never seen an anime that he's liked, or he's maybe seen Pokemon.
Just Pokemon. I'm like,
or Digimon, and it's just like, oh, this is for little kids, and it's like.
Those are but
you should see some other stuff.
Yeah, say look at Dragon Ball Z. Fucking look at JJK. Because think JJK is fucking mixed between it's combining what? Curses, sorcery, monsters, and fucking martial arts and weaponry. It's sky's the limit.
So let's go ahead and jump into the Shibuya arc. Now, there are going to be spoilers.
Spoilers!
So if you have not seen the Shibuya arc or all of it yet, or if you're not caught up on the manga or anything like that, do not listen to this video until you have seen the Shibuya arc. There's only 20-something episodes for the Shibuya arc.
Just stop, go to Crunchyroll, watch it, and come back.
Yeah. So, So the Shibuya arc takes place because if you remember in the first season, it was right after Gojo had used his hollow purple on Hanami at the school during the Goodwill sister school event. They had said something about Shibuya on Halloween. So this is all on October 31st, 2018. So this is, this whole series takes place a few years ago. I do believe that the series actually started coming out in 2018, like the manga series. Then the anime came out in 2020. Then we got, Hidden Inventory Premature Death was early last year, I do believe. And then the Shibuya arc started in August and ran up until the end of the year, I do believe. So if you are caught up or if you're unfamiliar with what's going on in Shibuya, it just starts off. It starts off with Yuji and Nobara and Megami all just having like a fun day.
Yay.
And you meet this girl, or this girl sees Nobara hanging out with, or she sees Yuji. And then she's like, is that Yuji? And then she, like, catches up with Nobara, and she's like, are you Yuji's girlfriend? And Nobara's like, no. And, so we find out that this girl is Ozawa.
Yes.
And the thing with Ozawa is this is the only episode that she's mentioned in.
Yes.
She's mentioned in the manga around this time, but you do not see her again. I have not seen her. Like, I'm caught up with the manga, except for the chapter that's going out today. I have not read today's chapter yet. But you have not seen her show up again. And because in my heart of hearts, I'm like, oh no. I know, because I had heard that Shibuya, because I started watching the Shibuya arc before I started reading the manga and catching up with the manga. I didn't catch up with the manga until late last year. So after the infamous chapter 236, if you manga readers know what chapter that is, you have not seen her again, and I honestly thought that they were going to kill her off, because I had heard that there were a lot of deaths, and there are a lot of deaths. Like, Jesus
so
Christ.
Many as if that guy, what was it? He has that podcast, Dead Meat. Who, like, he talks about horror movies or anything that he does a kill count. Mm-hmm. If he saw that, I bet you the count is big. Yeah,
well, I mean, considering what happened, so let's talk about the episode with Ozawa. So Nobara meets up with Ozawa. Ozawa tells her that I like Yuji. So they call over Megami, and Megami is like, oh, it's like that, and she's like, it's like that. Like, it was just a really weird thing. So then they call Yuji over, and then they Nobara freaks out a little bit because she's like, oh no, what happens? Yuji might not know who this girl is. Yuji looks at her and goes, oh, hey, Ozawa, what's up? Like, he noticed her because she had changed from this fat
girl.
She was like a fat, short girl, and her hair was black, and then when we see her, she was tall, skinny, and her hair was like brown.
Well, she's like the same height as Yuji.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you can tell she really liked him, but he's that dense he didn't know. Yeah, but he was nice to her though. Yeah, so Yuji was definitely like a green flag boyfriend right there.
So in the manga, this episode actually took place before Hidden Inventory Premature Death, which Hidden Inventory Premature Death was the 5 episodes at the beginning of the first season or the second season, where we learned about Gojo's past and Suguru's past and all of that. So, that took place before them, but they had it right before Shibuya, which, to me, that's perfect where they had put that. So, the second part of this episode, if you remember in the first season during the Goodwill Sister event, they were talking about somebody that was a traitor. And it turned out that it was Mekamaru. So, they were going to go apprehend him, I guess. But he had already moved to a different location. You see Suguru and Mahito, and they used idol transfiguration on Mahito to give him like an actual body that worked.
Yeah, because what was it in the first season?
They had made a deal.
But I heard because his body was so damaged, that's why he used robots and everything.
Yeah, it had something to do with his heavenly restriction. I cannot remember what his heavenly restriction was. But they, they did this whole thing. They fought. Mekamaru got into his ultimate Mekamaru, which was this giant fucking robot that looked like an Evangelion robot.
And one way, arousal.
Yeah, and so in this case, Mekamaru got in the fucking robot.
Oh yeah, he did. It was like almost, I wouldn't say a bloodbath, but it was like a huge ass fight.
Yeah, Mekamaru did end up dying.
Dumb.
So that's count number one for Shibuya.
But can I also take on a side note? In the thing, we do see Gojo's eyes again, and I have to say.
And what thing?
Yeah, Gojo's eyes, you know.
And you mean in Shibuya?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that.
Well, I'm just okay, fine.
Well, let's talk about that when we get there.
Fine.
Okay, so then I think that happened at the end of August, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure, because then the next episode, we dived straight into Shibuya. So it's October 31st, 2018. People are out in Shibuya drinking, wearing costumes, having a grand old time. And then there goes a veil or a curtain, whichever one you want to call it. It's called curtain in the manga. It's called a veil in the anime. It goes down, and people can't get out.
Yep. And pretty much, like, I don't know, should we just wait for the weakness later, or, like, I know we see, like, little nails throughout that looks like it's covered with newspaper.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, so then everybody's saying that the only way that they can get out is they needed to bring Satoru Gojo.
Wait. Mm-hmm.
So like the people inside, because I mean, veils are just supposed to protect the outside world from seeing what's ever going on when you're fighting a curse.
Yeah.
That's what the veil is for. But apparently they can do something in the veil where they can make it so people can leave and cannot leave, or whatever. And because we saw it at the school when they put the veil down on the school during the Goodwill event, Gojo couldn't enter the veil. This one, he could enter the veil. Everybody else could also enter the veil, which we'll find out later. But the humans that were inside the veil could not, and the only way that they could leave was if they got Gojo. Well, some supernatural shit happens. Some of them get sucked into the subway, and that's where a lot of stuff happens, is in the subway.
Yeah, like, what was it? He got turned into curses and... Yeah,
Mahito was just going berserk with his idol transfiguration. So, Gojo shows up on the scene.
See a minute.
And he goes down to where a lot of the humans were.
Yep.
I did watch it every week as it was released in Japanese, and then I went back and rewatched it in the English dub as it was being released. And let me tell you something, Kaiji Tang is so good at being Gojo. Like, oh my god, ignore that, that's my dog. Oh my god, his voice drives me crazy in this. And one of my favorite lines was when he was fighting Jogo and Hanami. Now, he is fighting Jogo, he is fighting Hanami, he is fighting Mahito, he is fighting Choso, he is fighting all four of them at the same time. And he has his infinity on so they can, like, not touch him. And then he literally gets Hanami. But, okay, well, before that, he jumps on... Okay, well, no. Before he's fighting Hanami, he grabs Jogo's arm.
Yes.
He throws his leg over Jogo's arm. I wanted to be Jogo's arm. Okay. And he rips it off. He rips off Jogo's arm. And Jogo runs off like the little bitch that he is. Because he's like, I think that, because Suguru wanted them to, keep him busy for like 20 minutes or something like that so they could because they were going to seal him in the prison realm.
Oh yeah, they would. They did.
And so they were trying to get him to do something, and whatever Suguru wanted them to do definitely was not working.
Ooh.
So Gojo, he manages to fend off. Okay, so Choso tried to shoot blood at him because Choso has that. His curse technique was blood penetration or something like that. He could use his blood. Kind of like Noritoshi from the first season, the blind dude with the bows and arrows. So he fends off Jogo, fends off Choso, manages to jumps on Hanami, grabs where his little sticks are coming out of his eyes, and he
breaks.
He breaks them, and before he breaks them, he goes, "This is where you're weak, right?" And I thought I was gonna melt.
When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, see, Gojo went absolute feral during his episodes, and they were some of the best fucking episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I love feral Gojo, and I love feral Nanami, which we're going to get to Nanami here in a little bit, too.
Oh, yeah.
So then Gojo manages to get Hanami up against the wall of the subway with his infinity, and he makes Hanami explode. Like, just literally, he just exploded, and I'm like, holy shit, Gojo. So, he fights a little bit. Mahito comes in with some cursed humans, and they are attacking the humans that are not cursed. So then his only choice was to use his domain expansion. But the thing with his domain expansion is that it could harm the actual humans. So he had to do it in 0.0, it was 200 and something seconds. And he just went through and he killed every single cursed human or transfigured human that he could, or I think he did kill them all to save the others. And then you get the infamous heavy breathing from Gojo that everybody simped over to. And he was getting ready to do something, and then Suguru arrived. And Gojo's like, what's going on? Because I can't really talk about it now because because Mike hasn't seen the movie yet. And we haven't really talked about the movie yet either. That's coming up, folks. I'm not saying when, but it's coming up.
It'll come soon.
But he's like, you're not Suguru. He goes, my eyes are telling me you are, but my heart and my soul are telling me you're not. So who the hell are you?
And this is what happens. They put, like, it was like a curse, like, it was a curse or a brain of a. They put another brain inside of him.
Yeah, so we find out that this brain is named Kenjaku. Kenjaku has been alive for thousands of years. Because Kenjaku hops from body to body. And there is actually someone close to Yuji that actually has a connection to Kenjaku, which we'll find out in the next season, which is, I do believe it will be in the next season. Next season is the Culling games, Culling, Culling. So I'm super excited about that.
That would be awesome, because the ending, we're not going to talk about the ending yet, but it's a little, you'll find out sooner or later.
Yeah, so they do manage to seal Gojo into the prison realm. And then that's when shit starts to hit the fan.
And when they put him in the prison realm, the cube turned into his eye, like color of his eyes and everything.
Yeah.
And Gojo's like, he's surrounded by demonic hands. He's like, you can use a day off.
Yeah. So, they do find out that Gojo has been sealed, so they do have to go off and they do have to save him.
Yes.
So they're all going in. Yuji goes up to the rooftops because he finds out, or he meets up with these little Mechamaru devices. And these are the devices that tell him that Gojo's been sealed. Excuse me. So these are how the pairings are going, or the teams are. You have Ino, Nanami, and Megami.
Yes.
Then you have Nobara, Nita, which she's the blonde-haired girl from the end of the second season or first season.
Yes.
And was it Maki?
I think it was Maki.
No. Maki was with someone else. So I think it was.
You're right.
I think it was Nobara and Nita. And then Maki was with her grandfather. And
that wasn't one that fit. Was it like did he have like a squid head or something?
Yeah, we'll get to that. And then Yuji was with Mei Mei and her little brother.
Yes.
I feel like, and Panda was with their teacher Kusakabe.
Oh, I like Panda.
That's that's what I can remember. So, Mei Mei, Yuji, and her little brother go down into the subway because they're on their way down to save,
yes,
or to help Gojo. Yuji ends up fighting a cursed grasshopper spirit.
He looked like ugly as shit.
He wins. He caught him eating one of the assistant managers, I think is what they're called. The people that, Ichiji basically, like what Ichiji and Nita do, like they're like assistant managers or windows or something like that is what they're called. So he catches them eating this person. He kills them, obviously. Mei Mei fights a transfigured human and his dog.
Yeah.
And then she runs into Suguru, and then Suguru puts her up against a disease curse. And she almost sacrificed her little brother during that fight.
Yep.
But her little brother was like, "Oh, I would be proud to sacrifice myself for you." Like, their relationship is really fucking weird. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie.
Half the time I'm like, alright, it's time to play this song.
And something that happens, we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but there is something that happens towards the end of the season.
Yep.
That really made a lot of people just like go, what the fuck? Me included. Then there's some people who are like, oh man, I wish I was in that position. I'm like, no, you don't.
No.
So, there's a lot of shit that happens in Shibuya. Like, a lot of people... Okay, so, Yuji manages to meet up with Nanami, Ino, and Megami, tells him that Gojo's been sealed. Nanami goes off to find Ichiji, finds that Ichiji has been stabbed by Haruto. Which, if you don't remember who Haruto is, he was that little blonde bitch, in the first season, that went to the school, met up with, like, all the girls, and was like, oh, I'm gonna kill you all. But then as soon as the veil went down, he ran off like the little bitch that he is. So, Haruto is there. Haruto, stabbed Ichiji. He killed a lot of other assistants. Nanami saw every single fucking one of them as he was going to Ichiji. He manages to save Ichiji, so y'all, he is alive. Ichiji is still alive, which is good. So then he, Yuji, Ino, and Megami are fighting these three curse users.
Yes.
They're fighting with this one older guy, Yuji and Megami are, and then Ino is taking care of the old hag on top of the building. The hag manages to channel Toji Fushiguro into her grandson's body. Okay? Y'all probably remember Toji. All the girls, well, I'm not going to say all the girls, but a lot of the girls still simp over Toji.
Especially how emo he is.
He's not emo.
He kind of acts emo.
Nah, definitely not emo.
He has that I don't give a shit attitude.
It's because he's a deadbeat, not because he's emo.
Okay. Well,
if anybody's going to be emo, it's Megami, okay?
I don't know.
So, she channels his Toji's soul, and Toji almost kills Ino, but they were able to say they managed to save Ino, so Ino didn't die. But then the grandson Toji, killed the old woman, and then Toji goes off to do whatever after he kills her. So then Nanami ends up running into Nabara.
Yes.
And Nabara is fighting Haruto with Nita. Nita can't really do anything because Nita cannot use curse techniques.
Nope.
So Nabara is doing her best to protect Nita. Haruto is about to kill all of them. Then here comes Daddy number 2, Nanami.
Nanami, bro!
Now, he shows up, and he's just walking. And these scenes with Nanami were drawn by the exact same guy who gave us the scenes with Gojo when he was fighting. So, this is why all the girls were, like, all over it. So, he shows up and he's like, give me the name or the locations and the numbers of your allies. And he was like, Haruto's like, no. And, like, Haruto's trying to, like, slice Nanami and kick Nanami. And he's not doing damage because Nanami is a level, he's a grade 1 sorcerer. Nanami beats the absolute shit out of Haruto. He grabs Haruto by his hair. All the girls went crazy over that because we want our hair pulled by Nanami too. And just that whole scene with Nanami was just like, holy shit, like, we want that. So he does manage to defeat Haruto, and he goes off and he meets up with Maki, and her grandfather.
Yes.
and they fight this octopus-looking guy, Dagon, I think his name. And they get sucked into his domain.
Oh, yeah.
We do see Maki's grandfather's curse technique, which has something to do with animation, which was actually pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, like, really amazing. It was, like, okay, was that an octopus or a fish? I just can't remember.
No, the Dagon's head was an octopus.
Okay, good. Well, his head was an octopus, but his domain was pretty much the tropics.
Yeah. So they had a little. They did actually have some issues. Because it's a domain. Maki's grandfather almost died.
Yes.
But they weren't targeting Maki because to Dagon, Maki was weak because she had like no cursed energy. So he's just like, I'm not gonna bother with her. So Megami ends up getting into the domain and starts using his own domain, and he's like, hey, I have there's a spot here below me, just if you can go out, we can get out this way. And Nanami's like, don't you even think about sacrificing yourself. And he says something like, I didn't plan on doing that or something. So then here comes Toji Fushiguro through the little hole. And you gotta do that, like talk over me and stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You said little hole.
Yeah. So here comes Toji, and he pretty much obliterates Dagon.
Yes, he actually did.
Yeah, he took Maki's playful cloud and he sharpened it.
Oh yeah.
He like broke it apart and then sharpened it and then stabbed him. And basically defeated him, so then the domain disappeared.
And when is the part where Nanami gets badly injured?
That's actually coming up.
Okay, when he does.
So, what happens is after they get out of the domain, Toji literally kicks Megami out of a window and leaves. It was Maki, her grandfather, and Nanami all in this area. And then Jogo shows up. Jogo's upset because Dagon has died.
Yes.
And he goes through and he lights every single person, Nanami, Maki, and her grandfather, sets them on fire.
Yeah, and if you don't know who was it, you said Gojo?
Jogo.
Jogo. He's that little cursed dude that with the volcano on his head.
Yeah, with Mount Fuji on his head. So while this is going on, there's this, because everything that happened in Shibuya, this all happens over one night. This is just Halloween night. All of these episodes just covered one night. And
that's one thing about anime. It's like, it takes like say almost a certain amount of episodes to get like through the one day of battling.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it makes sense because you can only fit so much stuff
in one day, and especially when there's like side characters, you don't know where they at. You do the surprise, like the scene when you see the main character whispering, like they're talking, but they cut it out so you can be surprised when something happens.
Well, to be fair, Shibuya was like 50 chapters long.
Yeah, so they had to put everything. So in one way, all the episodes are worth it. So
yeah, like everything everything was just condensed. So while this is going on, Megami and Toji are having a fight. And Megami does end up holding his own against Toji. And then there was a part at the end of their fight where Toji went to go he was going to stab Megami or something, but then his eyes kind of widened, and he jumped back. He goes, "What's your name?" And he goes, "Fushiguro." And he's like, "Not Zenin. I'm glad." And then he stabbed himself in the head and died. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of speculation that at the end, Toji did realize that was his son, and upon hearing that Gojo did keep, or Gojo didn't. Well, he didn't make a promise to Toji about saving his son, but knowing that Gojo did save his son, I guess just made him happy. So then he just killed himself. We have not seen him since then, which luckily is a good thing.
Yeah.
So then Yuji is fighting against Choso. And this was a pretty intense fight, which resulted in Yuji losing the fight against Choso.
He did.
He was close to death.
He was. And these three, was it girls?
No, there's two girls. It was the two girls that Suguru saved from the village. Nanako and I cannot remember their names. I think one's Nanako. Mimiko. Nanako and Mimiko.
And here's what they did. They brought cursed fingers, which Yuji took in the first season.
Yeah, they're talking about Sukuna's fingers.
And they fed him. Like, they made him swallow it and everything. So they can
get Sukuna to wake up and get them to join their cause.
But here's the thing. He kills the two ladies because they want him to get...
What they wanted Sukuna to do was they were like, if you kill, put Suguru out of his misery, and if you do, we'll tell you where the last fingers are kept or something like that. And he was like, no.
Because they were giving him orders.
Yeah, and he didn't like that. So he killed the two girls. Which that broke my heart because, they're now dead. And, all they wanted to do was save Suguru from Kenjaku.
Yes. And then, Sugna and Jogo get into a huge battle. He says, if you can survive so long, he said he would help or something.
Yeah. So we get one of the best fights during the season.
Yes.
Like this is one of the good ones. And it does end up Jogo does lose. But before Jogo disappears, or before he dies, he said, Sukuna told him, hey, you were strong, you should be proud of yourself. For being able to hold your own against the King of Curses. And then he comes upon Megami, because Megami got attacked by Haruto. So Haruto is still alive, this little bitches.
Yes.
And he attacked Megami, and Megami was dead, or appeared to be dead. And there was what is that thing called? It's the top, I think it's like the 10th, one of Megami's Shinigamis. And I think it was like the top Shinigami. It's like the Maharoga or something like that. And this fight with Sukuna, did you find it?
No. I was going to talk about Nanami.
That's coming up. We'll talk about that in a minute.
I'm just...
So, because that comes after all this.
Yeah, because wasn't Megami, didn't like Megami have like a little friend? Never mind, just go.
Yeah, so Megami was passed out and his Shinigami was going absolute batshit crazy. So according to the director of this episode or the animators or something, this fight was only 30% done. Which, if you look at it, it does not look like it was 30% done. It was one of the other good fights during the season. And it was just, it was crazy. And Sukuna does end up defeating Maharoga, but what he ended up having to do was he had to use his domain Malevolent Shrine, which I guess Crunchyroll had actually changed the dubbing, or they had mistranslated shrine to kitchen. So it was Malevolent Kitchen, and everybody was making fun of it. It was a meme there for a while. I think they have since changed that. But he ended up destroying most of Shibuya. Yeah. And little Inumaki's arm, one of his arms, got caught in his domain and got cut off.
Oh, yeah. And
so we have... Shibuya is almost completely destroyed. Sukuna drops off Megami's body to where they have like a little camp set up for to heal people. Shoko is there with Principal Yaga, and Sukuna drops off Megami, and then he goes back to where he had destroyed Shibuya, and he gives control back to Yuji. And Yuji saw what happened, and Yuji absolutely loses his shit. Because even though Yuji was not in control of his body at this time, he still felt responsible for destroying Shibuya. Like, Shibuya was gone.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was absolutely decimated.
Oh, yep.
And, so then we see Nanami.
And I have to say, Nanami, like, half of his face looked like it got blown off. He looked like Gus. What happened to Gus in Breaking Bad? I know you haven't watched it.
No, I haven't.
Well, see, what happened is in the show, I'm going to take a little side note here. For those who did see it, but she hasn't, what it is, Gus was talking to one of the main characters. The main character can't talk, so he communicates by a bell.
Mm-hmm.
And the bell is connected to a pipe bomb in his wheelchair. So it goes off, and Gus walks out, straightens up his tie, turns his head. Same thing that happened to Nanami.
Well, it was like a whole side of Nanami's body was just badly burned, and he was missing an eye.
Yeah, that's what happened with Gus.
Missing some of his skin around his mouth. He absolutely looked worse for wear. But he shows up. He comes upon some. Oh, okay.
Yeah. See?
Yeah, he just showed me what. Oh, okay.
Yeah. See.
But there was, so he's fighting some transfigured humans. And this whole time he's like he's talking about how he would like to retire after this, and how he would like to just relax and maybe go to Malaysia. So then it showed him like in Malaysia, like while he was fighting the transfigured humans, you saw like how it would be in Malaysia and stuff like that. So then Mahito appears, and just as Mahito is talking to Nanami, here comes Yuji. Yuji stops and he looks around the corner and he sees Mahito with his hand up against Nanami's stomach, and then he tells Yuji, "Hey, I'll leave the rest to you," and then Mahito kills him. Yuji absolutely loses his shit. They get into a fight, and then Nabara shows up. So Nabara is fighting fake Mahito. She gets dragged into the subway where the real Mahito was. They cross paths, the real Mahito and the fake Mahito cross paths. And Mahito grabs hold of Nobara's eye, her head. And she's sitting there and she's holding her eye. And then we have like her backstory. We're talking about, hey, this is, I did have fun with you guys, and I'm sorry. Her friend Sayori, she's not gonna be able to see her again. And then her childhood friend from her hometown, she would never see her again. And then her eye explodes.
Yeah,
and she dies.
Yeah, and pretty much going through like the whole thing in her hometown, how that one girl, everyone seemed to hate her, and it was because of that whole small town vibe.
Yeah.
Because like people will shun and eat something.
Yeah. So
and then we show that person who was getting tortured, and she just remembered her, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Because Sayori said that, I hope those two girls are doing well, and here's fucking Nobara over here dead. Yep. So Nobara is out for the count. So that is, like, I don't even know what the body count is at this point because so many people died in Shibuya. Like, the humans in Shibuya died. So we don't even know how many people have died so far. So then, he fights Mahito. Toto arrives to fight Mahito with him. He actually gets healed because they bring in somebody who can use reverse curse technique, which is how they heal. And they were able to heal Yuji a little bit, so Yuji can continue to fight. Now, the thing with Nobara is, the speculation is that she is dead, but when the guy healed Nobara, he said that it wasn't, that her chances of survival were not 0. So she could still possibly be alive. As of right now in the manga, I have not seen her come back.
And they say she's not dead, but her chances of survival ain't 0.
Well, they said that she wasn't breathing.
But they also said she wasn't in a coma either.
They didn't say that either, but they said that she wasn't breathing and that her chances of survival were not 0, but they're not high either.
Yeah, so either way.
But they haven't, if they are not bringing her back at this point in the series, she's probably dead.
Yeah, and then,
because we have not seen her in the series yet. I personally think that she might still be alive, and that's just because of a scene I saw in chapter 236. So we're getting to the end, folks. So now it's the Toto and Yuji against Mahito fight, which was actually pretty cool. Yes. Toto does actually end up losing an arm. So then he can't do his boogie woogie technique anymore. Mahito turns into some weird robot looking thing at one point. But Yuji does manage to defeat him, and there's a scene where it looks like they're in a forest, and you see Mahito freaking out, and then you see these bunnies running away, and then you see Yuji, and you see some wolves. And so it's like he is a wolf hunting a rabbit. Yes. And Mahito is just throwing stuff at Yuji. At this point, Yuji has a slash across his face. He's missing some skin around his lip. And it's just, it was really intense. So then Kenjaku Suguru shows up. And basically takes Mahito. So he basically killed Mahito, which, because he needed Mahito for his plan, I guess. Yes. Personally, I think that was too good for Mahito. I do not like Mahito. I have not liked him ever since he killed Junpei in the first season. So then there is a scene before all this where the Kyoto students were on a train going to Shibuya, and Mekamaru was talking to Miwa by himself, and he was basically telling her, he basically told her be happy, because Mekamaru was in love with Miwa, and that actually kind of made me tear up a little bit. That scene did. So they actually showed up to help against this fight against Suguru. We find out that Mei Mei and her brother are not there. They went to Malaysia, and we see her laying. Now, her brother is fully clothed, but she's naked,
Mm-hmm.
and they are in bed together.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to play this number. Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, so there is a lot of speculation about what's going on there. I've never liked Mei Mei from the first season, and this just made it like 10 times worse.
I think, you know what's weird? Mei Mei has the weirdest hairstyle.
She really does.
Because she's got the braid tied back thing in the back, which is cool, but it's also in the front.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just dumb.
I mean, it's kind of like Unohana from Bleach. Her hair actually braids down the front. So like it just goes around her neck and then goes down the front.
Yeah.
And that's a weird hairstyle too. But at least it's not shielding her face like Mei Mei's. But
oh yeah.
yeah, so Mei Mei is in Malaysia with her little brother, which
in a bed, and I'm like,
which is gross.
I'm like, what the Sweet Home Alabama shit is this?
So there's a lot of people like, oh, I want to be in her little brother's place, and it's like, dude, you just realize that her little brother is like significantly younger than her.
And
like Mei Mei is at least in her late 20s, and her little brother is like
maybe 13,
if that.
And I'm like,
so yeah, gross.
And I'm like, what the? And it's like a really bunch of a complex. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So they're not there for this final fight, but everybody else is. They do fight. Choso actually learned that Yuji, is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole story about that's
like episodes ago.
Well, and not even that. We find out how they are related later on in the manga. So, yeah, they are actually kind of related.
Yes.
They are actually siblings. So Choso joins Yuji and his friends to defeat Suguru. Unfortunately, Suguru does get away, or Kenjaku Suguru does get away.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yuta shows up. Which, if y'all have seen JJK0, you know who Yuta is. Yuta is the protagonist from JJK0. So, he saves this little girl from being eaten, because I guess she got separated from her family or whatever. And he saves this little girl. And then we find out that he had talked to the higher ups at Jujutsu High. And we have now found out that Gojo is considered, that he was working with Suguru, in compliance with Suguru. Suguru was wanted. Gojo was not to be released from the prison realm. He's exiled. Principal Yaga was part of all of this too, and he is being sentenced to death. And Yuji Itadori is to be killed immediately, and his executioner was to be Yuta. So when the series ends, or the season ends, you see Yuji just kind of like standing around, and then I think he claps, and then a curse spirit comes up behind him, and then it ends.
And this is when when we're going to get this whole Colon game.
Colon games, yes.
And hopefully it'll be freaking awesome. We can see what happens, and I'm kind of wondering, does Yuji get executed? Does he live? Or what the fuck's going to happen?
Now, see, the thing, like, obviously I know what happens because I'm caught up with the manga. Let me just tell you that this is going to introduce a lot of new characters, and it's going to we're going to learn more about how Yuji and Choso are related and stuff like that. So, it's actually going to be quite awesome. And I cannot wait. We probably will not see anything about it until either, they're saying 2025, so next year. So we probably won't be talking about JJK again, well, besides the movie. We won't be talking about JJK again until after the Cooling Games has been released and has aired.
Yes.
So, but that is the Shibuya arc. If you have seen it, what did you think about it?
I love it. 10 out of 10.
Yes. So
really bloody.
It was really bloody. Yes, it was amazing. I loved every single moment of it. My boyfriend and I are actually in the process of watching JJK. We're still in the first season. So I told him not to get attached to any characters because in Shibuya, a lot of them die. And
yes.
I am actually pretty sad about Nanami dying. I actually had that spoiled for me by Facebook. And then I had the infamous chapter 236. All your manga readers know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But I have had I did have chapter 236 spoiled for me too. But I am now caught up. I just gotta read the new chapters as they are released. So, next week's hint is just simply gonna be rings. Okay?
We'll figure that out.
Yep.
Alright. We got through all that. Alright. Here's the thing. We are up to 23.
Yes. 23 subscribers, guys. Thank you so much for subscribing.
Now, yep. Now we need what? See.
Let's not do math. We need more subscribers to get up to 100, so we'll start showing our faces at that point.
Yeah, it's like too cold to think about math right now.
Yeah, we got some snow here where we live, or where I live, anyways.
That and daylight saving time made me tired.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're up to 23. We just need a few more just to get up to 100. Once we get up to 100, we'll show our faces. So, share this with your friends if they're nerds, if they're nerds as well. And, we'll just go from there, and just...
Yes.
Then you'll get to see our lovely faces every week after that. And Mike will be cosplaying as Tsunade from Naruto. And I will be cosplaying as Gordon from Black Clover. So, like, subscribe, comment. Did you like the Shibuya arc? Did your favorite character die during Shibuya? All of that. Just let us know in the comments below.
Yes, and type in the comment what the fighting catchphrase, something from JUJUTSU, guys.
Yeah, like what your favorite scene was from JJK.
That or your quote. Whatever it is.
Yep, whatever. So,
yep.
Okay, well, you guys have a good day, and we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Hey.